Hey there and welcome back to Sims Sunday. My name is Pete and you know the drill. In this series we try to complete The Sims 3. The last episode was pretty eventful. We managed to complete the Rockstar Lifetime Wish with Chastity, and so let's see what awaits us today. We begin things with Paul, who immediately goes over to the Sim Life goggles to raise his fun bar. Last episode we pushed him quite a bit and he became stressed out, and of course that is not how we want to send him off to work today. A good hour later, he can put the goggles back down and get something to eat, even though he's not terribly hungry. This small breakfast here is mainly done for the positive moodlet. While Patrick and Ahisha wake up, Pauline is already busy reading the logic skill book, just for a while until she has to leave for school. In the meantime, Patrick can begin his day off in the garden, and Ahisha can also work on her fun bar. Then, as we see Chastity awake here, we can also see Paul has moved over to the computer again. There is a good hour left until he needs to leave for work, and he can spend that writing. Chastity can then grab some cake for breakfast, while Pauline can finish the skill learning session and now also grab the Sim Life goggles for some fun. Speaking of fun, we have maxed out Ahisha's fun bar, so another day of collecting begins. And let's also have her change into something more comfortable. With Pauline no longer needing it, I have transferred the logic skill book over to Chastity, who can now read for a while as her daughter teleports herself over to school. Our goal here, by the way, for Pauline is to get her on honor roll, but more on that later. Paul, meanwhile, has also made it to the police station, and once again his report rating is not perfect, but he should be able to get a promotion today anyway. At home, Patrick finishes with the garden and can now grab the mail, and we can already sell the few money tree harvests, as well as the gems and ingots we just received. Then it's time for Patrick to take a shower and afterwards prepare himself some late breakfast. We are, by the way, slowly approaching the World-Class Chef Skill Challenge, for which we need to prepare 75 meals. This is also the last skill challenge in the cooking skill, meaning once we have that, we can call the skill complete. After breakfast, it is now time for Patrick to also learn something, and for that purpose we will teleport him over to the library. Here we will have him read the handiness skill book, and even though Patrick has his handiness skill right where it needs to be for the next day at work, we are already working ahead for the next promotion here. With Ahisha we can once again spend some money and buy the Pinnacle Pond property. Even after spending over 21,000 simoleons here for the property, we still have enough cash left to not get into trouble. Ahisha can now continue collecting, and we can jump ahead to the end of the school day for Pauline. And we can see here that Pauline has finally made it to honor roll. This will give her a very powerful plus 25 moodlet for the next 2 days, and she now also has the wish to stay on honor roll for 3 days, and we already have one of those. That is perfect timing actually, because we should now be able to complete that wish by the end of Friday, which means we are then able to have a fulfilled weekend with her. At home, it is now finally time for Chastity to stop reading. She has made it halfway to the next level in the logic skill, but we have a busy afternoon scheduled. Before she can get started, let's quickly have her take a shower. Then daughter Pauline returns and goes straight for her homework. And we can then teleport Chastity over to the theater, just as the workday for her husband Paul comes to an end. And as expected, Paul gets promoted once again. He is now a sketch artist. That's level 8 of the forensics career, but back to Chastity. Chastity will now begin to play a concert. That is now the only way for her to make money in her career, as she now no longer has fixed shifts she needs to appear to. As a rock star, she can now truly choose her own working hours. In the park, meanwhile, it is once again time for Paul to conduct an interview. We need him to write another report, and his old friend Tracy Glenn looks like the perfect target. With her homework now finished, the second half of the day for Pauline starts, and she will push herself on the treadmill to get her athletic skill up. I actually can't wait to finally get her into the criminal career and see how she performs. In the park, Paul has already switched interview partners, because it seems like we already did an interview with Tracy earlier. That is not a problem, Paul is a charming young man and should soon be able to get another interview going here. At the theater, Chastity finishes her first performance as a rock star. Roughly 800 simoleons for that are not too much, but let's just have her go for another round and see how that goes. And here we are now with an opportunity that I have been waiting for a long time now. This is the opportunity that will finally allow us to plant eggs and cheese, which we absolutely need to do if we want to truly complete the gardening skill. So let's get going with that opportunity right away. Send Patrick over to the diner to deliver some fresh fruits and vegetables. And a short while later, Patrick leaves the diner again, now equipped with the knowledge on how to grow egg and cheese plants. Paul meanwhile has made it back home from the park and will now begin his report. And of course we have sent Patrick shopping immediately. He does have some cheese in his inventory from an earlier fishing session, but let's enter the supermarket now and have him buy an egg. Before planting that, however, he can now return to the library, as the next level in the handiness skill isn't too far away anymore. Chastity then finishes her second concert at the theater, and once again the payment is rather lackluster. That could of course be higher when playing concerts over in the stadium, but honestly I hadn't planned for her to stick to the rockstar business for too long anyway. And that is also the reason why we are now going to quit our job. Alright, Chastity is now without a job. That also immediately generates the wish to join the music career again. And that is exactly what we're going to do. Chastity will now once again join the music career at the very bottom. This time, however, we will choose the symphonic career branch. Back at home, Paul has now finished his report, and he can now begin to work on an opportunity that I think we received in the last episode. That opportunity will take place at City Hall, where Paul will now need to attend a conference. And completing that opportunity will then increase his career performance. Chastity meanwhile has returned home and has also eaten something already, and that means she can now continue with the logic skill book. Speaking of skill books, in the library Patrick can now put away the handiness skill book and then return home to finally plant some eggs and cheese. Then it's time for dinner, and afterwards also time for him to head to bed. In the meantime, Pauline has finished her workout and is now taking a shower, while outside Aisha has returned to send away a few gems. Both Aisha and Pauline can now also grab a bite to eat. And then around midnight, Paul finally finishes the conference at City Hall. His work performance has now increased, and that means it's time for him to return back home. Back home is also where everyone else is already going to sleep, so in just a second we can skip ahead to the next morning. And that next morning we'll start with Patrick and a good round of fishing. And today we're aiming for a perfect shark. And here we are. Half an hour later, Patrick has caught a perfect shark. Let's transfer that over to Paul and have him now go for tuna. Back at home, Pauline is the next one awake, and as usual, things start with a round on the sim life goggles. Chastity is already busy with the logic skill book as Paul wakes up, who will now also use the sim life goggles to get his fun bar ready for work. Aisha meanwhile can immediately teleport off for some more collecting, and don't worry, I will change her outfit in just a second. Chastity can now switch places with her daughter. We can transfer the logic skill book over to Pauline, who can now stop using the sim life goggles and read for a while until school starts. Her mother Chastity meanwhile can grab some breakfast. Patrick has already made it over to the science facility for his shift, but he was once again successful in his fishing attempts. Fishing tuna was done to eventually catch a lobster, and as you can see here, he caught a perfect specimen. At the police station, Paul has also started his shift already, and as you can see, thanks to the opportunity, his work performance meter is already quite high. Back at home, Pauline has read the logic skill book for about an hour now, but we can now transfer that back to Chastity, as Pauline beams herself over to school for her second day on honor roll. Three hours later, Chastity has made it to level 8 in the logic skill. And I think that's enough for now. Let's now have her pay the bills and grab the mail. In the mail we then find 2 more gems, which we can immediately sell again. And we probably also received a few more things for the family inventory. Yep, let's sell those as well. And not only does Chastity have the wish to work from home, that will also actually make sure that she starts her second run through the music career with a promotion, so we will now have her work from home for a while. While looking for beetles and butterflies with Ayesha, we get an opportunity for Patrick, and this one will increase his job performance, so we will of course take it. Speaking of job performance, Patrick then finishes his day at work, and he just barely misses out on a promotion. We had that happen before a few episodes ago. It's not much of a problem, as this is the last career I want Patrick to go through. And while we're here, Patrick can now try to check off one more perfect fish from the list. Right behind the science facility, he will now hopefully catch a perfect vampire fish. While his brother is busy fishing, Paul finishes his shift at the police station, and he once again manages to get promoted. As a 3D crime scene modeler, he has now reached level 9 of the forensic analyst career branch, so only one more promotion until we have that completed. As usual, Paul will now make his way over to the park, where he can hopefully collect enough information on Nicole Fry, and then write a report about her later. Pauline, meanwhile, has finished her second day on honor roll, and of course we want her to stay there, so homework it is. Roughly at the same time, Chastity finishes working from home and can now go back to the logic skill book. Over by the science facility, Patrick has fulfilled his task and caught a perfect vampire fish, which means he can now return home. In the park, Patrick is conducting an interview, while Patrick arrives in his garden and can now begin a round of harvesting. Inside the house, Pauline once again hops on the treadmill. She has finished her homework and will now begin a workout. And just a few moments later, she reaches level 7 in the athletic skill, and that unlocks Quick Burst, which allows her to train up her athletic skill much faster. So let's quickly switch to that. Half an hour later, Patrick is done in the garden and hops under the shower, while Paul, who had returned in the meantime, already finishes his report. One report sadly wasn't enough to max out the report requirement, and with his logic skill now also lagging behind a bit, we will spend the rest of the day working from home with Paul, so that his next shift hopefully still gets him a promotion. I'm not 100% sure on that though. Right next to him, Pauline then finishes her workout, and I had planned for her to take a shower, but as you can see, that one is occupied, so we'll have to wait until Patrick's in the kitchen preparing some lobster, and that allows Pauline to now take a shower as well. With the day slowly winding down, I think it's time for Chastity to also grab something to eat now, and over in the kitchen, Patrick finishes a perfect dish of lobster that we can immediately put into the fridge for everyone else to use. Patrick will then once again teleport himself over to the library to improve his handiness skill, and I think we should be able to get him to the next skill level today. After her shower, Chastity waits for a returning Ayesha. Ayesha has once again sent away a few gems, and the two women can now talk with each other for a while to not only increase their relationships, but also their social bars. Alright, social bars filled, that means we can now sell a bunch of stuff with Ayesha, and also have her send away a few more things. In the library, meanwhile, we can see Patrick has improved his handiness skill to level 8. That is another to-do completed for today, so he can now return home. And back home, Ayesha has already gone to bed, as Patrick returns to prepare himself an autumn salad. Chastity, meanwhile, has quickly maxed out her fun bar with the Sim Life goggles, but she can now also go to sleep, as Patrick fulfills himself the wish to prepare a meal with perfect ingredients over in the kitchen. After dinner, he can quickly clean up the kitchen counter. And then he's the next one to head to bed. Paul, meanwhile, has worked from home for quite a long time now, and he has gotten himself stressed out, but we can also see a substantial increase in the work performance meter, so hopefully next time he goes to work we can get that last promotion. For now, he can head to bed as well. Then with the logic skill book, Pauline improves her logic skill to level 9, and that's actually the last thing I wanted to do today, so off to bed with her, and we can now make the cut. Next time we'll hopefully see completion of the forensic analyst career branch, and maybe we'll finally also get the whole collecting thing done. Until then, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!